Hey, welcome back, everybody. Of course, you know me. My name is Dr. Keith McNally, and this is Coach's Corner. I'm here with Jane, and Jane forgot her last name. Her name is actually Jane Bell, and so we appreciate Jane for joining us today. And she is well, she's many things, actually, and she's a business owner, and I love this, Time Smart Teaching. Jane, you got to tell us all about that, what you do, and why you do it. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
So thank you, Keith, for having me back again. And yes, I am better known as the Time Smart Teacher because the title of my book is called Time Smart Teaching. And Time Smart Teaching is a philosophy. It's a way that teachers can work smarter and not harder and stop taking all of their work home. And that's really needed in today, especially because we lose teachers all the time. Internationally, it's a global problem that teachers are burning out. They can't cope with the workload. No one's modeling or teaching them how it can be done sustainably. And so they leave. And that's a huge issue. And that's the issue that I am trying to alleviate. And that's the impact that I'm trying to make on the teaching world.
So typically people get started on a mission project because it's a personal nature. Is this a personal nature of yours? Were you ever burned out as a teacher?
Yes,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Can you talk
Yes.
about that?
I can. So you're absolutely right. I think most people that start a business come from a place of wanting to avoid pain or some kind of suffering that they themselves have gone through earlier in their life, and I'm no different. So I did teacher training in the UK about 12, 13 years. And it was a really rude awakening to be kind of like pushed into the world of teaching after your teacher training year and really not being prepared for the overwhelming workload demands, the amount of meetings, paperwork, marking, speaking to parents, all the extra evenings. And there was a point towards the end of my teacher training year, my PGCE year, I should say, where I nearly gave up. I nearly turned to my husband one night and quit and said, I just can't do it anymore. Just can't keep up with it. We're working the late nights, having no energy, flaking out on my friends because all my weekends were taken up recovering and sleeping from teaching. And I had no energy to actually have a life. And
Oh.
that's no way to live. And so I made it my mission because I got pregnant with my first daughter, Grace, around that time. And then I made it my mission. I knew I couldn't come back to teaching and for things to remain the same. And I didn't want to give up on my teaching career at all that investment, that time. And so I made it a mission to learn to do things differently. And all of the workload hacks that I've learned over like that 6-7 year period, I share them all in my course, in my book, on my LinkedIn page, on my YouTube.
Well, we're going to share all those contact information a little bit later, but what, why? Really, why is the teaching perfect? And you may not be able to answer this directly, but why is it such a burden? Like, why do they put so much responsibility? You talk about marking,
Well, I
meeting with
definitely
parents. Go ahead.
Yes, I definitely have some theories about why that's the case. I think it's deliberate. So in the UK, we have this wording in a teacher contract that I'd love to get rid of, and it basically says something along the lines of, "Here's your list of duties as a teacher. This is the job role you've got," and then at the bottom it says, "and anything else deemed appropriate by the head teacher."
Wow.
Right, so that's a massive gray area. So what like one head teacher deems as an appropriate amount of extra work or workload or class for you to do or intervention or after school club is going to be completely different from another head teacher. And so that kind of like bit of the contract just like leaves teachers wide open to be exploited. And we have this thing called directed time in the UK. Directed time is the amount of time, clocked hours, that you must spend on the school premises. But that is not the same amount of time that you need to get all your work done. You have to take so much home unless you're really savvy about what you're doing. And I got to the point where I was really savvy, and I want to help other teachers get to that point as well.
Well, let's talk about some of that savviness. Some primary hacks, really, some really key things that maybe if somebody were listening today or whenever they listen to our conversation, those things that, oh, Jane, thank you so much. I really needed that today. Give me
Absolutely.
two or three primary hacks.
Yeah, okay. So the first thing I would say is learn to be really resourceful. Don't make all your lesson resources yourself. Share resources within your department or even within other schools if you're in a network of schools. Find good quality resources on the internet. Let you go into design that lesson or that worksheet or that homework. Make you going to do that the absolute last option. Find someone that's already done it first. We've got the internet now. There's so much out there. Great resources globally can be found at places like TES.com. I share resources, free resources that I have made on my test store freely quite regularly. So if anyone listening wants to follow me on LinkedIn, I do freebies and giveaways really regularly. And then what else can I do? The second big thing is when it comes to test marking or any type of marking, classroom marking, homework marking, you should be getting the students to do as much of that as possible. You are the expert. The teacher is the marking expert. So the teacher should only be marking expert items in a test. So those are the long essay questions, the 6, 8, 9, or 12 mark questions. The teacher should be marking those because that takes a real skill set. Any of the multiple choice questions, the 1, 2, 3, or 4 mark questions, students from like the age of 8 onwards, right up till 16, they can mark those with the teacher help, guiding them through the mark scheme. We call it peer assessment, where they swap and mark each other's. They can do that. And also, I would suggest getting lower years test papers marked by the higher years, by those further on, because they've got more of the subject expertise and they'll do it a lot more consistently. And so if you can do those two things together, you'll be on a great start to stop taking a lot of your work home.
So you have your own podcast or at least a YouTube channel called Time Smart Teaching, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So what type of content are you putting on? Are you putting all your hacks on there, or what type of content is on your YouTube channel?
Yeah, it's similar to the things that I've just discussed. So the YouTube channel was set up as an extension of the book. So it was to talk about the tips and tricks and some of the things that I mentioned in the book. But it's also gone a bit further than that, because now what I do on the YouTube channel is I have like a mini masterclass series where I'll teach on a certain topic to do with education for 10 minutes. So the last one that I did was like how to manage anxiety as a teacher. Lots of teachers suffer from anxiety attacks and anxiety. And I've shared my experience with it and my tips for dealing with that as a teacher if anxiety hits in school, and how you can have a plan so it doesn't take over your life and you're not becoming overwhelmed or in a conscious peak state of anxiety.
And finally, you have a course, or you're developing a course. The last time we talked, I think you were still in the development stages.
No, it's live now.
Oh, it's live now?
It's
Okay,
live.
talk to us about that.
I'm so excited about it. It's called the Teacher Freedom Program. It's the link to that is in my bio if you're a contact on LinkedIn. And the course is a bit like the best bits of the book kind of condensed down into the big needle movers. So the absolute bare essentials of what you need to know and what you need to do to stop taking your work home, so that teachers can go from working 60 hours a week and burning out to working a lot closer to like the normal accepted 40 hours a week, and not having like all that unpaid overtime where they're taking all their books and their tests home to mark. And so it goes through 3 processes. There's the first module is on mindset and how to set boundaries between school life and homework and say no, and how to negotiate for extra time. And then the second module is about offloading your teaching, your marking, your day-to-day classwork marking, similar to what we've just talked about. But I share the frameworks that I use in detail, so it's like done for you. And then the third module is about accelerating your lesson planning, and I share a goldmine of free resources online where pretty much any subject can go and instantly download loads of free quality resources for their subject.
I
And
love
that's
it.
it.
I love it. So I mentioned YouTube, you mentioned LinkedIn. Where are you on the web? So everywhere, where are you on the web?
So they can catch me on my YouTube channel, which is the same the same title as the book, Time Smart Teaching. I am mainly on LinkedIn, and that is the place where I'm most active on social media. I am on Facebook as well, although not quite as often. So I would say if you want to reach out, email me, timesmartteacher@gmail.com, or come and find me on LinkedIn. That's the best place. If they can find you, Keith, they can find me.
And so I will make sure that all of your contact information directly is in the description of this video. Before we leave this conversation, one major hack, whoever's listening today, any teacher, save them today. Jane, save them from their stress. Tell them something in 30 seconds.
Buy the book and read it, because it's all there, baby. It's all in there. It's got 5-star reviews on Amazon from genuine teachers for a reason. You can get it in an ebook. You can read it on your phone. That's my tip.
And I will put the book's Amazon link in the description as well. Jane Bell, thank you so much for this conversation. Such a pleasure. This has been another edition of Coach's Corner. We'll see you next time. Take care.
Thank you, Keith. Take care, everyone. Bye.